Imagine buying, like, just one extra case of paper towels today. And then, because of that single seemingly totally harmless purchase, a massive 53-foot truck drives completely empty across the entire country next week.
I mean, it sounds totally absurd, right? But that is the actual reality of the domino effect that's driving global logistics right now.
Yeah, it's wild. Welcome to the Warehouse Reality Check. If you have ever wondered why a tiny shift in your grocery habits triggers a massive, multi-million-dollar freakout across the globe, well, that's exactly what we're unpacking today.
And it really is a freakout. The systems just completely overreact.
Exactly. Our mission today is to figure out why our supply networks are so incredibly prone to these costly overreactions. And, more importantly, how modern intelligence systems are finally acting as a much-needed shock absorber.
Which they desperately need, honestly.
Right. We are doing a real warehouse reality check today. Our primary source stack relies heavily on some fascinating insights from ProvisionAi. Specifically, we're looking at their comprehensive work titled eBook Taming the Bullwhip Effect.pdf.
That's a great source.
Yeah, and we'll also be pulling from their deep dive research into agentic supply chains and the hidden costs of poor load planning. So, okay, let's unpack this.
Well, I think to start, we really have to look back at the MIT beer game, from Supply Chain 101.
Oh, right, the classic.
Yeah, but what is crazy to me is that, 60 years later, our multi-million-dollar software is still falling into the exact same trap.
Let's actually start right there. For anyone listening who maybe needs a quick refresher, the beer game is that 1960s simulation, right? You have a retailer, a wholesaler, a distributor, and a factory.
Right, 4 distinct stages.
And the catch is none of them are allowed to talk to each other.
Right.
They only see the orders coming from the person directly downstream from them.
And almost every single time that game is played, you get what we call the bullwhip effect.
Which is just a great name, by the way.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
Because of the delays in information and this totally siloed decision-making, a tiny fluctuation in customer demand at the retail level, say, just a slight uptick in beer sales, it causes the retailer to panic.
So they order a little extra, just in case.
Exactly. They order some safety stock. Then the wholesaler sees that bigger order, assumes a massive trend is forming, and orders even more from the distributor.
Oh, man. So it just multiplies.
By the time that signal reaches the factory, that minor little retail blip has amplified into a massive, chaotic swing. The factory is suddenly, running triple overtime to produce beer that the end consumer never actually asked for.
It's like traffic on a highway. One person taps their brakes slightly, and then 3 miles back, traffic comes to a dead standstill for literally no reason.
That is the perfect analogy, yeah.
Wait, hold on, though. I have to challenge this premise a little bit. That was a board game in the 1960s.
Right.
Today, these companies are spending tens of millions of dollars on AI, cloud computing, advanced analytics. You're telling me these incredibly sophisticated data-driven systems are still falling for a psychological trap from the Kennedy administration?
They absolutely are. I mean, they really are. In fact, modern supply planning systems haven't fixed the bullwhip effect at all. They've actually weaponized it.
We weaponized it. How?
They have become hyper-vigilant. Instead of a human warehouse manager getting a little anxious and ordering too much, you have an algorithm enforcing these super rigid safety stock rules.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, across a highly volatile environment. When today's systems detect even a microscopic rise in demand variability, they overcompensate instantly. They just flood the entire network with inventory to prevent a stockout.
So they basically solved the human emotion part, but replaced it with algorithmic panic.
That is exactly it. Algorithmic panic. And that brings us directly to the core flaw in these legacy systems. It's a concept called capacity blindness.
Okay, capacity blindness. Break that down for me.
So the top-down planning software is doing all the complex math on supply and demand. They know the theoretical numbers perfectly, but they are completely, entirely blind to the physical realities of actually moving the boxes.
What do you mean by physical realities? Like, how is the software actually operating in the background?
Well, think about the software stack running a modern supply chain. You have your ERP, the Enterprise Resource Planning System.
Right, which is basically the corporate ledger, taking the orders, managing the money.
Exactly. Then you have your APS, the Advanced Planning and Scheduling System. That acts like the brain. It calculates how much product is needed and when.
But let me guess, the brain doesn't have eyes on the warehouse floor.
Precisely. That is precisely the problem. The APS doesn't talk seamlessly to the WMS, the Warehouse Management System.
And the WMS is what tracks the physical floor space and labor.
Right. Nor does it talk to the TMS, the transportation management system, which is what actually books the physical trucks.
So they're all just living in their own little bubbles.
Yeah, they exist in completely isolated silos. So the APS makes this brilliant mathematical plan without checking if the warehouse can actually physically execute it.
Okay, let's look at the highly specific example from the ProvisionAi research to show how this actually plays out, because this blew my mind. Imagine a distribution center, right? On a normal day, this facility has just enough labor and dock doors to handle receiving exactly 10 truckloads of product.
10 trucks, that's their max capacity.
Right. Now, let's say one single SKU, like one specific size and scent of laundry detergent, drops just 3 cases below its designated safety stock threshold.
3 cases is nothing. I mean, it's literally a few dozen bottles.
But to the hyper-vigilant APS, what happens?
It is a massive red alert. The system rigidly enforces its safety stock rule. It triggers a false signal demanding an immediate replenishment.
Over 3 cases.
Over 3 cases.
Yeah.
And because the system often operates in full pallet or full truckload logic to maximize, bulk efficiency, it doesn't just order 3 cases, it commands a full truckload.
So the system solved a math equation to satisfy a tiny deficit. But let's walk through the physical ripple effects of that one blind command.
Yeah, the downstream chaos is staggering. First, the manufacturing plant receives an urgent signal to expedite an order that was never on their schedule.
Right, so what do?
To get it produced and staged, loaders at the plant are forced into expensive time-and-a-half overtime.
And then they have to find a truck for this emergency shipment.
Which is where the transportation team hits a massive wall. Their regular, reliable core carriers, the ones they have good contracted rates with, they're already booked for the day.
Because it's a last-minute emergency.
Right. So to satisfy this sudden artificial emergency, the transportation team is forced onto the spot market. They end up hiring a lower service, highly expensive secondary carrier. Sometimes they're paying double the normal freight rate.
That is insane, all to move 3 cases of detergent.
Yeah.
But it doesn't even end there, does it? Because this truck still has to physically arrive at the distribution center.
Exactly. And remember, that distribution center only has the capacity to unload 10 trucks a day.
Right.
This surprise shipment is truck number 11. So now you have dock congestion. The truck sits idling in the yard, racking up detention fees. The workers are totally stressed out. The entire perfectly balanced ecosystem of that warehouse is thrown into complete disarray.
So if we connect this to the bigger picture...
Wait, let me just say, all of this chaos, all of this money is just to satisfy a mathematical deficit of 3 cases? It's crazy.
It is crazy. So if these legacy systems are essentially creating all this chaos, you'd think the actual loaded trucks rolling down the highway would at least be packed to the brim with efficiency, right?
You would think so, yes.
But that brings us to a statistic in the source material that is just deeply frustrating. The research cites a recent survey of 158,000 trucks operating in the state of Georgia. Out of that massive sample, 91% were severely underloaded.
I really want to let the severity of that fact sink in for a second. 91%.
9 out of 10 trucks on the highway are wasting fuel, generating massive carbon emissions, taking up highway space, while carrying a fraction of what they could actually hold. Why? Like, if companies are spending millions on digital twins and advanced AI forecasting, why can't the system just look at the loading dock and say, hey, we're sold today, let's send this tomorrow? How are 91% of their trucks rolling out the door half empty?
Well, because when these unachievable top-down digital plans hit the physical reality of the loading dock, the plan instantly collapses.
What do you mean collapses?
If the APS software tells a loader to put 45,000 pounds of mixed product into a trailer, but the software didn't account for the fact that those specific pallets of, say, fragile paper goods can't be safely double-stacked under heavy liquid detergent, what does the loader actually do?
Well, I mean, they can't defy gravity. If it doesn't fit, it doesn't fit.
Right. They abandon the $1 million digital plan entirely. They just toss it out and rely entirely on what the industry calls tribal knowledge.
Tribal knowledge.
Yeah, these are the unwritten rules of thumb passed down around the loading dock, and a classic example of this is the California Kingpin rule.
Okay, unpack what that actually means physically, because that sounds very specific.
It is. So California has very strict axle weight laws to ensure long trucks can make tight turns safely on their highways.
Makes sense.
Specifically, the center of the rear axle group can't be more than 40 feet from the kingpin.
The kingpin being
The part that connects the trailer to the cab of the truck.
Right.
Got it. So if a loader puts too much weight in the back of a 53-foot trailer, the truck gets slapped with a massive fine at the weigh station. Now, the loader on the dock, they don't have the time or the fancy tools to do the complex calculus required to balance the weight perfectly across all those axles.
Right, they're just trying to load the truck and go home.
Exactly. So instead of risking the fine, they just use their tribal knowledge. They say, never load past the 48-foot line if it's going to California.
Wait, really? They literally just leave the last 5 feet of the trailer completely empty.
That is exactly what happens. They pull a bunch of pallets off the digital plan, shut the doors, and ship the truck half empty. But here is the true financial devastation of that tribal knowledge. The pallets that the loader decides to just leave behind on the dock, they're almost always the exact products that are needed most desperately for customer shipments.
Oh, because they're not looking at what the customer needs. They're just pulling off whatever's closest to the doors so they can close them.
Exactly. Which leads directly to missing inventory on store shelves. And when a massive retailer like Walmart or Target doesn't get the exact product they ordered on the exact day they expected it, they issue severe OTIF fines.
OTIF standing for on time, in full.
Right, and these penalties are brutal. They're often a percentage of the entire invoice cost.
Ouch.
Yeah, so the company is losing money by shipping empty air across the country, and they are paying massive fines to their customers for failing to deliver the actual product.
It's like composing a symphony for instruments you don't actually possess.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, like the sheet music looks absolutely beautiful on a spreadsheet in the corporate office. The software says it's a masterpiece. But when you hand it to the orchestra, it sounds terrible because you wrote a massive solo for a tuba and you only have a flute. You simply cannot optimize what you do not connect to physical reality.
Which leads us to the crucial pivot in the industry right now. The legacy approach of running a supply chain like a linear cascade, where the forecast dictates the plan, which dictates the warehouse, which just hopes the truck can fit it all, that has definitively failed.
Good lead.
We have to transition from a series of disconnected reactionary silos into a synchronized agentic network. Someone or something has to bridge the gap between the math and the loading dock.
And this brings us to the actual fix outlined in the sources. We're talking about ProvisionAi and their agentic supply chain tool called LevelLoad.
Yes, LevelLoad.
So if traditional systems are the ones triggering massive panic over 3 cases of detergent, how does a tool like LevelLoad actually step in and stop the chaos?
It acts as the ultimate shock absorber for the entire network.
A shock absorber.
Instead of reacting instantly to every tiny inventory signal with an urgent blind dispatch, LevelLoad continuously generates a 30-day forward-looking truckload forecast. But, and this is key, unlike the legacy systems, LevelLoad's forecast actually incorporates real-world physical constraints.
Oh, so it isn't just looking at the mathematical demand for detergent. It's actually looking at the WMS and the TMS.
Exactly. It sees lane capacity, it sees how many dock doors are physically available next Tuesday, and it sees if there's actually a crew scheduled to unload the truck.
That seems so obvious, but it's revolutionary.
It really evaluates the priority of the customer need alongside the physical physics of the network. So if it sees that 3-case dip in detergent, but it also sees that the destination warehouse is already completely jammed for the day, it doesn't panic.
It doesn't order the 11th truck.
No, it smooths out the spike. It shifts loads earlier or later based on urgency.
Okay, but walk us through the mechanics of how it actually secures that space without falling into the hyper-vigilance trap, because demand is still volatile.
Right. Let's say month-end shipments are projected to completely overwhelm dock capacity in next Tuesday. LevelLoad will look at the situation today and decide to move some of that volume to Thursday when things are quiet.
Okay.
But to guarantee the trucks are actually there when they need them on Thursday, the system does something brilliant. It places flexible dummy orders into the company's ERP system a week in advance.
Wait, explain the dummy order. Why not just place the real order?
Because demand is volatile. If you lock in the exact products a week in advance, the forecast might change, and you end up shipping things you no longer need.
Oh, I see.
The dummy order acts as a placeholder. It secures the desired truck capacity with a preferred core carrier at the best possible contracted rate. So the transportation team gets a heads up, the truck is booked. but the actual contents of the trailer remain entirely fluid.
So you're basically reserving the seat on the flight without deciding who is actually getting on the plane until the last possible second.
Exactly. And that brings us to the final, really crucial piece of the algorithm, which is Auto O2.
Auto O2.
Auto O2 is an optimizing load builder. Just before that reserved truck is actually ready to be loaded at the dock, Auto O2 steps in, takes that temporary dummy code, and replaces it with the exact real-time, highest priority products.
Here's where it gets really interesting. How does it actually determine that priority?
It looks at days of supply. So if the destination warehouse only has 2 days worth of paper towels left, but they have 12 days worth of bottled water, Auto-O2 knows to prioritize filling that trailer with paper towels first.
To prevent a stockout and avoid those massive OTIF fines.
Right.
But wait, how does Auto-O2 solve the 91% empty truck problem? Like, how does it know the paper towels won't get crushed or that the truck won't violate the California Kingpin rule?
Because Auto-O2 doesn't just list the products on a spreadsheet like the old systems. It uses advanced 3D simulation to physically build the load in the digital space before a single real box is touched.
No way.
Yes, it calculates perfect axle weight distribution, it accounts for state-specific laws, it ensures heavy pallets aren't stacked on fragile ones.
It's doing the complex calculus the loader on the dock never had time to do.
Exactly. And it translates that math into a visual reality. It literally gives the loader a 3D visual guide on a tablet.
So it just shows them step by step.
Yep. Put this pallet here, put this one there. There is no more guessing, there is no more relying on tribal knowledge, and there are absolutely no more half-empty trucks leaving the dock because the loader got nervous about weight restrictions.
You know what it's like. It's like having a brilliant bouncer at a highly exclusive club.
Okay, I can see that.
Traditional supply chains, they just let 500 people rush the door at the exact same time because someone started a rumor that a celebrity was inside.
Right, the rumor is the false demand signal.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Bouncer gets overwhelmed, people get trampled, the fire marshal shows up, and it's total chaos. But LevelLoad and Auto O2 act as the bouncer who actually manages the line. They check the physical capacity of the bar, the warehouse, they hold the line back, they secure the VIP tables in advance, and they only let in the exact right mix of people exactly when there is physical room, keeping the whole night running smoothly.
I love that. And the tangible impact of putting that brilliant agentic bouncer at the door is massive.
It has to be.
By implementing this specific framework, the global consumer products company highlighted in the ProvisionAi research saw immediate real-world results. We're talking about a 4% savings on total replenishment fight costs.
Just from not shipping empty air.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They were able to completely eliminate their reliance on expensive, low-quality spot market trucks because they were securing their preferred core carriers a week in advance.
And I imagine the workers on the warehouse floor were pretty happy too, right? No more surprise truck number 11.
Oh, completely. It entirely mitigated the wild swings in warehouse labor. No more forcing people into unexpected overtime one day to handle artificial emergencies and then having them stand around idle the next day.
Yeah.
They shifted their entire operation from reactive algorithmic firefighting to proactive synchronized management.
Which really brings us back to the core lesson of this entire deep dive. It doesn't matter how smart your demand forecast is. It doesn't matter how many millions you spent on your ERP system.
No, it doesn't.
If the boxes don't vertically fit in the truck or if there's no one scheduled at the dock to receive them, the plan is useless. Tools like ProvisionAi's LevelLoad finally bridge that gap. They merge the high-level mathematical planning with the actual grounded execution on the warehouse floor.
And by doing that, they transform these chaotic, hyper-vigilant supply chains into smooth, balanced operations. It is a fundamental paradigm shift in how we move goods around the planet.
It really is.
And, if I can leave you with one final thought to ponder here.
Please do.
We've spent this time discussing how agentic AI frameworks like LevelLoad can predict, negotiate, and smooth out the massive chaotic overreactions within the logistics network itself, right?
Right.
But what happens when we take that logic a step further up the chain?
Wait, where do we go from the warehouse?
To the consumer.
Oh.
Yeah. If this technology can act as a shock absorber for trucks and warehouses, calculating days of supply and smoothing out spikes, could this same algorithmic logic eventually be applied to consumer behavior itself?
Wow.
Imagine a near future where an agentic AI doesn't just manage the 53-foot trucks delivering the paper towels and bottled water. Imagine if it actively interfaces with retail algorithms and pricing models to gently smooth out localized human panic buying before a storm even hits.
Before it even happens.
Right. What if the system could completely neutralize the bullwhip effect at the very first domino, preventing the explosion before the chain reaction even begins?
Now, that is something to think about the next time you're tossing an extra case of paper towels into your cart just in case.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the warehouse reality check.